evening, guys. Welcome to yet another installment in the Trollspejlet's theory lection collection. Wow, I made a stupid pun already. I'm really on it today. Today we're going to talk about how the seat shapes the power and thus makes collection, if a bunch of other things already are in place. We have a bunch of little videos for you today as well, and we are going to show fairly advanced writing, and we will show also how the seat does different things. It will be very apparent in some of the videos, and some of the others it will be really difficult to see, so feel free to shoot all the questions you want. About questions, I have started bugging you guys about sending in questions, and we actually have like a couple of questions that are relevant for this particular session we are going to do today, that I will be asked now because I can't remember them. Please.
Yeah, we'll start with one about degrees of collection.
Oh yeah?
What is that? Is it like a progressive scale, or is it something that's connected to the exercise? Like this exercise has this degree of collection?
All right. So that's a fairly intelligent question, and it puts quite a hefty framework on what we're talking about when we talk about collection. The idea of collection is that you have collected some energy and you are now preserving it inside the frame of the horse that you're sitting on at this exact moment. That means that if you go for a talk about degrees of collection, you can find ideas that say this is an open frame, this is first degree, this is second, and this is third degree of collection. And that is a framework that makes it fairly easy to reference stuff and makes it easy to understand what you want to achieve. If you ask a student to ride the horse in such and such collection, and you already have defined this in between you, then this is a great way of explaining what you want to do in few words. But the way I see it, collection is something fluent. Of course, you can talk about degrees. That just depends on how well you want to separate things. So you can say that the resolution of your collection is everything from the first to the 1000th degree. Then it's very, very difficult to ask for a specific thing, obviously. But you can see it as a flowing thing from like a completely open frame where the horse is not even connected front to back. Then you will get some 70 or 80% of the horse's weight on the front. That's no degree of collection whatsoever. Then if you have the horse connected through his back all the way from hock to the nose, if you have that, then at least you have some degree of collection, but it's not normally defined as collection within the framework of the training scales when you look at it this way, because the training scales puts up a few prerequisites before you get to what you call collection. But the way I view it, is if you are moving weight from the front legs to the hind legs, you are somewhat collecting the horse. Mm-hmm. Would you say? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hope that's an answer for that question. Was there another?
Yeah. Something about the differences or similarities, or are they the same within the Piaf and the school halts? What differs? What's the same?
Yeah. The school halt is an exercise that you often get into when you start working on collection. If you work on things like reining back and then moving forward directly from the rein back, and even that there's an exercise just in between, so you can have the horse standing still, not moving, but you can make him sort of sit a little bit into his haunches and stand back up, and sit a little bit into the haunches and stand back up, I believe the exercise is called Schaukeln. Don't shoot me if that's wrong, but I believe that's what it's called. And if you sit the horse a little bit more back than that, quite often the horse will pick up one of the front legs, and then you're doing a school halt, really. So the school halt in this particular respect tells you something. If you sit the horse back like that until one of the front legs rise, it tells you something about the diagonality in the horse. There is too much tension on one of the diagonals. You can look at it like that. We need to keep a very narrow line here. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with doing a school halt. I'm saying that with every exercise, you can use the exercise to train the horse on the one hand, and on the other hand, you can use it to diagnose the horse. And when you do the school halt like this, and you sit down and one leg moves up like this, it will quite often be that diagonal that's tighter across the back. There are caveats, of course, but you can look at it that way. So in a really good piaffe that is really well seated and relaxed and to the hand, the horse will be completely relaxed through the back, like diagonally over the back. It will be easy for the horse to move like that. And that is not a requirement to do the school halt. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think that should answer the question fairly precisely. It is not a requirement of the school halt that the horse is completely relaxed through the back, like relaxed not in a lazy way, but in a dancing way, if you want. That's my answer for the questions that came in. So for you guys out there, please shoot us some questions down below. This is important to us. It is the way we normally teach. We want the lessons to be driven by the pupils and the students. We understand that that's a little bit more of a hassle when we do it this way, but it's still a thing that we really want to do, and we want you guys to try and help us to give you the teaching you really want. Right.
So should we start watching the videos soon? But I want to say something about the training scale. As usual, I always talk about the scale.
That's you.
Because now we're going to see more like piaffes and very collected exercises. And as we remember, we haven't come to more than like the two first steps in the training scale, the rhythm and the looseness, and we're supposed to start next time. We're going to start with contact, but there is a reason why we wanted to take this little
detour into the power,
into the power and the collection and stuff, because in a piaffe, if it's a good quality piaffe at least, you will see the movement of the back while the horse is doing something, while it's moving, but it's so slowly and it's sort of on the more or less on the spot, so that you can see this movement in the back that needs to be there when you're riding the horse over the back. So, but please don't think that we feel that collection is just the piaffe and the levade and the terre-à-terre and stuff like that, because it's very important to be able to do the collection in the ordinary gaits, like the collected trot, the collected canter and stuff like that. And before you can do the collected canter, you can't do the pirouette. But that is when we come to collection after we've done all the steps, because you need all the steps to do this in the right way. Okay?
I completely agree. It's very important, and it goes straight back into that question that we had earlier, that talks about the different levels of collection within the gaits and within all exercises and all that sort of stuff. We're not saying that the piaffe is a collected exercise. It is an exercise that has great potential for training the horse's ability to collect even more than it already is, but it isn't collected as such.
No.
Unless, of course, you choose to link those things. It isn't a proper piaffe if it isn't collected. If you choose to link it like that, then you're quite right in that respect.
But you can't just trick train the horse to trot on the spot and then you say that now it's collected because it's trotting on the spot.
No.
No.
No. There are differences in
see.
quality, and we will see differences in quality even in
Yeah.
today's video.
Yes.
So I think that shall be fun.
That's more, yeah, that's why we show the whole session with the moments where the movement is not so good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
lots. All right, let's run a movie, eh? As you guys may notice, it's always sunset around here these days. Well, at least if it's light enough outside that you can actually see some riding, then it's sunset. All right, we saw saw a horse piaffe there, didn't we? Can we see it again, please? So we can see that the rhythm isn't all that great, and the horse is somewhat sagging through the back.
And he's tense.
A little bit tense
And he's,
here and there,
yeah.
but fully able to sit down into a semi-levade of sorts. All right, so the horse can sit in a levade and he can do a piaffe and still be a little bit tense through the back and in the neck.
And with a not so good rhythm.
Yep. So the rhythm would have been better if the horse was looser through the back.
Yeah.
This is important. Remember these things, right? This goes straight back into the training scale. You use the training scale in order to diagnose whatever you're doing right now. We're trying to show you how we do that. Next, please. Oh.
Yeah. Now you can see that it's not straight because the hind legs are pushing off differently.
Yep. And then I ask for a little bit more of that straightness, and the horse says, no, but I can collect a whole lot more if you like. And I allow him to do a little bit of tara-tarish sort of thing. But you can see his butt, no, his back behind the saddle is way too deep.
Yeah, and that is, of course, because he has had this problem with his back all his life, and we've just recently we have been able to do something about that, so he's not tensing up that much when you're working in hand. But it's more difficult when you get on top of him. Isn't that true?
More difficult. It's so difficult to answer these questions in like the correct resolution sort of. So if you could stop the video somewhere. There you go.
Oh, that was a nice one.
Perfect. All right. So I wouldn't say that it's easier when I'm working on the ground. There are some aspects of the horse's movements that are easier to access when I work in hand than when I sit on top. However, I cannot ride with this level of energy or work with this level of energy in hand.
No.
I am unable to do that. So I wouldn't say it's easier. It's just that I add something when I sit up that I don't have to accommodate for when I work in hand. So it looks easier for sure, and the horse is way more relaxed, but he's not that powerful.
So what you're saying is,
wow, yeah,
is that you're able to sort of ask for more energy. So then you come to sort of the maximum of what the horse can let through his back.
Yeah, you can say that, yes. So, and you can see here that in this particular moment, my weight is a little bit forward, but I managed to get my leg underneath me. While in the piaffe, in almost all of the videos that we will see today, you can see that my legs are too far forward. That is a little bit because I'm not quite soft enough through my own hips and legs, but it's also a little bit because the horse tends to drop his back.
Yes.
So, and this is important to understand. I say this all the time about the extended trot, and people come to me and say, my horse has got this great extended trot, but I can't sit it. Then I usually answer with a little bit of a laugh, of course, just heart to heart. If you can't sit it, it isn't a good extended trot. And the same is true here. If I can't sit it perfectly, then it isn't a perfect piaffe, right? And what we're looking at is what happens when legs forward, what happens to the horse? Or when the horse does this, then the legs come forward. Mm-hmm. And we can't always guess or divine which one is first. Is the hen first or the egg first? We don't really know. Sometimes it is the horse doing something, and sometimes it is the human doing something. And
it
even
comes
if you
back to contact, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you have to?
Because if the horse's back goes down, mm-hmm. Its belly goes away from the leg.
Yep.
So then the horse is not in the contact with the leg. Mm-hmm. And it's the same. Most people think that contact is all about the bit, but that is just one of the aids.
Yep.
When the horse is to the contact, it's to the seat, it's to the leg, and to the bit.
Yep.
And when the horse is difficult to sit on, it's not to the contact, to the seat.
Yep. Right. We can run it through and do the next one, please. Mm. So I make a point out of trying to release the rein whenever the horse wants to pull at it. Next, please. And he's very light to the contact these days. So this is a terre-à-terre of sorts. It's not perfect in any way or shape or form, but I'm working on trying to make him push off with his hind legs.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right.
So what you're doing with your seat to do that?
What I'm doing is I'm trying to keep my legs back a bit, but as you see, it's really difficult, and I'm trying to really pump those hips forwards. There's no better way to say it, really.
No.
And it's almost rude. That's what I'm trying to do. Move my hips forward as much as possible. You see that sometimes I can't move enough forward and I jump a bit. That means I get tossed out a little bit, but sometimes I manage to keep my seat in. And sometimes the horse troubles with his rhythm.
Yeah, and you can see that when the energy becomes too much, and then everything's just boom.
Yeah, and it pops, and we just let it go, and it's all fine. I allow him a great degree of freedom as long as he keeps that energy. Mm-hmm. And he's allowed to bump around and do all sorts of stuff. I try to follow him or lead him with my weight and my movements as much as I can. But it is quite obvious that I managed here to keep my legs much more back than I have in the previous little videos. Mm-hmm. And then we see that it becomes way more energetic.
Because of your legs position.
Yes, this is important because we're looking at the aids for collecting the horse and riding the horse with a lot of power. And the way I view it is the leg creates the energy, the seat distributes the energy. That's how I look at it.
Yes.
However, if everything is quote unquote perfect, there is no difference between you moving your hips and you moving your legs. It is the same. So if you activate your legs, your leg aids, you will at the same time open your hips. That is what we're looking for. Before you get to that stage, you're still training and you are not a ballet dancer at the highest level quite yet. Mm-hmm. And that is probably, I guess, true for most of us. We can roll on. So the rhythm is better. Mm-hmm.
And straightness is better as well.
Yeah.
Because the hind legs are much more even.
Yeah. So a thing that I tend to do is I use my legs less and I touch the horse with this stick to keep him energetic when I need him to be more energetic.
Mm.
You can see that sometimes he gets his butt underneath him a little bit more.
Mm.
In the beginning here, you can see that it's different on the different hind legs.
Mm.
So butt is under, under, open, under, open, under, open, and then it gets better.
Mm.
So his butt is a little bit more under when he kicks off with the left hind. That's typical.
So what are you doing to make him more straight? Like.
All right, then we can stop the video again. So in order to straighten my horse, this is fairly complex, and you must bear with me here because we come into all the different stuff in riding, really.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it this way. Horses push off harder with one hind than the other. That is where one of the spots where you can start working on straightness. You can do that either by making sure that both hind legs push off as much as each other and that both of them are as soft as each other when they touch down. That makes the horse straight sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
You can also start in the front end of the horse and make the horse loose in the front and then keep dribbling this looseness all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have both of those.
Yeah, because when you look at this video, you're starting with the hind legs with the energy and then asking the horse to relax more in his back and his shoulders to let the energy through.
Yeah, this is because of my own strengths as a rider. I am very good at creating a lot of energy and I am very stable throughout my core, so I can also keep all the energy collected within myself and therefore within my horse. So I don't think even. The energy just starts and then I start trying to relax my hips. That's what I need to work on. Yeah. And then I try to relax through my shoulders and see if I can get all that through. But I always do this. My horse kicks off better with the left hind than he does with the right. So I try to keep a very soft left hip all the way around my thigh, all the way up until it isn't my thigh anymore. All those muscles need to be so soft.
Because there he is stiff and
because that's where
strong.
He's stiff and strong. So he sort of, with my superpower being creating that energy, right? I don't even have to think about it. I have to think about staying as soft as I possibly can, while also staying to that side a little bit. Not because I want to stay more on the left side, but because the horse wants sort of, not here, but that's what he does. He tilts me to the outside by his stiffness. So if he finds any stiffness in me, and which he will, inevitably, then when I don't balance perfectly, relax perfectly, all that sort of stuff, I don't coordinate my efforts properly, then the horse will manage to tilt me slightly to the outside, just so my hips sort of tilt to the outside a little bit, and I have to work to keep straight. And where I work to keep straight is I have to be really strong in between my rib cage and my pelvis on the right side.
Right.
So I sort of
stretch that, or no?
No, this is really funny
Just
because if this is my pelvis and I'm seated here on my seat bones like this, and the horse wants to push me this way, what I have to do is keep this up.
Yeah, even though the horse is not up.
No, not yet. The horse can't come up if I keep
True.
following him this way. Then he will never come up because I never ask it. So I have to balance around my seat bone this way, and that can also only be done by the musculature in the side of me, but between my rib cage and my pelvis. So I lift that up, and I stay stable, and then I try to activate my right leg. So I try to activate the horse's butt with my right leg. And what happens then is the horse will then push off with that right hind, and that lifts his back into my seat bones again. And when he comes up to there, I can feel him coming up. Then I know now I have achieved a straighter horse. Not straight, I didn't say that. Straighter
And
horse.
then you get the rhythm.
And then I get rhythm. And that comes from the straightness. The horse pushes off as much with one leg as the other, and that must become a good rhythm,
So
right?
that is interesting that you can sort of juggle the training scale by going in the opposite direction as well.
Yep.
In this collection, you can find the rhythm.
Yeah. We have a question, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hege Høiby is asking about the legs.
Right.
Would that mean that we ideally need to get the legs further back or the hips more open to get the collection, or is it more a matter of quality in the collection?
Both.
Yeah, but
Both.
when you ask for a collection, ideally you will do that with your seat and your body, and not because you've trained the horse to do a collection. But of course, it's difficult to make the horse collect if the horse can't do it.
Yeah, it's like this. If we can, this is you in between these lines, and you're riding this way. This is you. You need to allow this much movement to stay within the trot that you are riding at the moment. This is just a head case, right? We're trying to stay within here. If you want the horse to be perfectly collected, you need to stay perfectly in line in the middle all the time compared to yourself and the horse. So the more collection you want out of your horse, the narrower this gap becomes. You have to be really, really, really precise in your own balance if you want to collect the horse. That also means that your legs need to be in the correct position. You cannot have your stirrups way out and still manage proper collection. As we saw in the videos of me just now, we saw that when my legs come forward, the horse's back drops. That means the horse isn't exact enough in pushing off with both his hind legs at the same time, and I am not active enough in my legs to make the horse tuck his butt under and then push off. This is so you need both. If you want to create more collection in your horse, you need to make sure that your stirrups are underneath your seat bones. That's really difficult.
Especially when the horse moves.
That's why it's so much easier to show it in the piaffe. So it's much harder to bring a horse that isn't properly prepared for the piaffe into a collection or a collected gait than it is to just sit on a piaffe. That isn't really difficult at all. If you go back to Garnier, I believe that he said that to train green riders, you need to put them on a very good piaffe and put this horse in the pillars and let him piaffe to teach the rider how the hips and legs should move without being roughened up in your seat. We are not quite that fortunate in our choice of horses, most of us, so we will have to ask for that, get your legs back. However, knowing this rider fairly personally, I would say that you have quite often got your legs in the right position, but for you it is to stretch the upper body. Because this energy that you create needs to have somewhere to go, needs to be told where to go. And if your upper body isn't stretched properly up and stabilized through the midsection properly, the energy will just flop your body about and dissipate. And when the energy dissipates, it isn't collected. Right.
Yep.
Movie time again?
Yes.
Movie time again. So you can see that I lean back quite a lot several times here. That's because I'm trying my utmost to make my hips move forward. And when I lean back, strangely, that makes it easier for me. Now I'm trying to correct the horse a little bit on which leg to push off with. The right hind doesn't want to push off. You can see that it takes the leg backwards before it hits the ground several times.
He lifts the leg up.
Yeah,
and
lifts
forward,
it up,
and then
forward,
it
and
takes
then
it
takes
back
it back, and then it touches down.
That's wrong.
That is,
And you see many people do that.
it's surely not straight.
No.
And Ares is struggling with his collection. Lots and lots and lots of energy, and I can't always make the energy go where I want. A little bit too tight in the back today.
And this is also, we have deliberately taken videos from your warm-up or from you where you started to train.
Yep.
And then you can see all the troubles.
You can see me change from this huge jacket to just a huge sweater later on. Still asking for that right hind to do its work. You can see him blowing out all sorts of stuff. He's really struggling, and it's very easy to see this at this very slow pace, right? When the horse is trotting, it's really hard to see which hind kicks off better. But now it is easy to see that that right hind leg, you could have your toes underneath that. It would be fine.
Just like we saw in the last stream when he was actually moving his hind leg when he was supposed to have the whole weight on that hind leg.
Yes. Right, next. Oh, we have switched to just a sweater. And the horse is a bit more relaxed. Moving quite a bit forward.
And it's more straight, I
way
think.
straighter.
Yeah.
It's still the same tendency. I almost said of course, but that's all right. I think we just move on. It's all right. Yeah, good, good. I'm talking to myself. Wow, I didn't even notice. So there's a bit of like half steps / passage, and there's a bit of piaffe. And what I do is keep the same energy, but I change how much I move my hips and therefore how much I jump my whole body forward in every stride. And it is so difficult to keep my legs in the right position, especially if they are going to carry any weight at all. They still want to creep forward way too much.
But this is more rhythmic as well, because you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
the parallelity is better.
Yep.
And
Right.
he's more up in the withers.
Yep.
Of course, because the back is carrying.
Yep.
When he's
Next,
diagonal, he's carrying.
Also, as you can see, it's not very favorable conditions for trotting around in a big ass, trot or cantering. Well, even if the horses in the background think that cantering is great, of course. Still working on that same thing. Sometimes you can see that inside hind wants to move forward really well. Now I asked him to collect into a halt from a passage into a halt, and he said, like this. And then he just stopped, dropped his back, and then he brought his hind end under and brought his back up as well. You can see it again, and I try to get him into a halt, and he says, what? No, I don't want to collect that much. You see that right hind try to grip forward, and he says, nah, and then it brings it all underneath, even 2 times. While I am trying to say, relax, boy. I'm trying to make you do a fairly simple thing, and you make a huge deal out of it. And this is an important point for most of us when we're riding. When you access a new thing, the horse will often only have like an on and off button on that new thing. There's no nuancing in that thing at all. You can I can bring my butt under like this or not. You can choose between full on or full off. And I'm trying, but I want a little bit of it. Can I have a little bit? But I can't have a little bit just yet. And it's not difficult to understand why, really. If you try yourself, try to nuance a little bit while carrying 100 kilos in each arm. The only thing you can do is hold on for dear life, right? So if you bring the degree of difficulty to such a level, then you get either on or you get off, and you will just be happy with that. Doesn't mean you're teaching in or training a trick into the horse. It means that this is the two things you can choose between right now. And then you will have to learn when the horse does that thing. The first times my horses tried to offer me a levade or a passade, and still actually when they do that, I tend to tip forward because I think, oh, a big rear is coming, I need to hold on for dear life, right? But what you need to do then is to learn how to relax while the horse expresses all that power. And it is so difficult. If the horse expresses a lot of power, then it's difficult. Right, roll next, please. Poop in the Sunset is the name of this video. And you see, on and off, right? And that's because the horse now is still tense in the back. You can see I'm trying to move my hips with him now. So I'm asking him to move more forward and less forward, and more forward and less forward, and then all of it. Collect all of it. So I'm asking for a higher degree of collection than he is giving. And that's one of the reasons why it's coming on and off and on and off, right?
But you're quite good at with your seat here.
Thank you. I think it's fairly obvious.
It's very easy to see how you're using your seat to ask for more back movement.
Yeah.
And then you're actually lifting your seat up so that the horse will be able to lift his back as well.
Yeah. He's so springy that even if his back is dropped a little bit, he's so springy and powerful in his step that when I move my hips forward, when I really move forward, the whole horse springs up. It doesn't relax into it enough yet. But it's getting better. This is better than in the start, in my humble opinion. Next, please. All right.
Now he's much more lifted in the front.
Yeah. I believe I tried to show something in these videos here. Let's see. Yeah. All right. We'll have to see this one over and over because this is important. All right. Again, please. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to exaggerate because I want to show you guys, but this is really difficult for me and for the horse. So I'm trying, you can see that I lean forward and almost out of the saddle here several times. That's on purpose, and you can see it towards the end of the video here. You can see the horse is piaffing backwards.
Yeah.
Just slightly and somewhat to the side. But my point is, if you lean forward and let the horse with all that energy come up behind you, he will reverse. So you can actually piaff backwards a little bit, somewhere around here. This isn't something we have trained, but you can see that it is possible to do it. I've never trained piaff backwards.
There he goes backwards.
But and then sometimes he collects too much because I'm not able to be relaxed enough, and especially not when he's a little bit tense as well. So watch the seat. Watch when I lean forward, what happens. I lean forward. The horse first stops, and I ask him to move again, sit back a little bit, and then I try to lean forward again. He stops. Lean forward more, and now he's gotten the point. Oh, there's room behind here. I can go this way. And we stop again. All right, so the point here is that your seat isn't an on and off thing. That is, just as the degree of collection, something that you can fluently move about. It's like a volume knob. Turn it more on or more off. And I'm trying to show in this here little video, when you turn it all the way off, it goes back, and you turn it all the way on and sit down. You push the horses back a lot, the horses back down a lot when you sit back, but you also ask for a lot of energy.
Yes, and that is a good illustration on because I was talking about how he's lifting his back a little more here. And that is, of course, also because you're sitting in a lighter way in the saddle. So it's easier for the horse to lift his back, but he is not as energetic from behind.
Yeah, in this particular one though, you can see that when I sit down, he moves forward, and when I tip forward, he moves back, but he doesn't lift through the withers. But in the video before, can we see the video before this one again? Was it this? Yes.
I think so.
You can see here that I'm making an effort to move my hips forward in this one. Even though I'm staying back or straight, I'm moving my hips forward with the horse as well as I can. So this was the best I was able to get out of him this day. And it was the best I was able to get out of me. So when I move forward, the horse lifts much more up in the wither.
Yeah.
And drops his back much more. Next video again. And in this one, you see, I do not move my hips as much.
No.
You see? So, and the horse's back is dropped. And it gets more pronounced when I lean forward. Drops more.
Yeah.
Yes. And then at the end, he sits down, but that's just that fluke.
Yeah.
Really. So he tries to get out of that tight back sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if you lean forward, you put the weight on the stirrups, which makes it harder for the horse to lift in the front. If you lean back, you put the weight in the back of the saddle, which makes it harder for the horse to lift the rear. But you can use both of those to gain different things. But what we want to show, the movie before again, please. What we want to do is not to either lean back or lean forward. That's not the way to ride. The way to ride, please run.
Second to last or third to last?
The one with the hippie movements. Try. I can't remember. Sorry.
That one.
This one. Perfect. Good man. Thank you. That was a great question from my side. No, it wasn't.
Then you're leaning towards back.
So, yes, I am. But I am still trying to move my hips. So the horse then becomes all right movement-wise through the back, even if it isn't perfect, because I wasn't able to. But I'm trying to move all the time. And what that movement does is move the weight, distribute the weight throughout the stride. So you move the weight from the butt to the stirrups, back to the butt, back to the stirrups. And that allows for movement throughout the back of the horse. While leaning back or leaning forward sort of blocks one end. And even worse, if you're just stiff in your hips and legs, then you lock the front and the back together by way of your own weight. Well, but while if you're fluent in your movement, as I try to be here, it is much better and much easier for the horse to move his back freely. Right, that was what I wanted to show here. Was that all? Yeah, cool. I think we have covered a lot of collection stuff.
And also
Questions? No? Cool.
Also, next stream is going to be about getting the horse off the back and getting it into the contact and how you're using your seat then. And this one is a good introduction to that, I think.
Yeah, because we see that when the horse or when the rider manages to move the hips freely, the horse manages to move his back much more freely. So when you block one end or the other, the horse becomes tighter in one end or the other. Doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. It means that the different things ask for different things in the horse. If you lean back or weight the back of the saddle more, the horse should collect more. If he is strong enough and all that sort of stuff. But that's a big if, and it will differentiate a lot. And sometimes, as you have seen today, it will be an on-off sort of thing. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's not quite enough. But it's all fine. We're training, aren't we?
Yep.
So there's no particular thing that is it's like this is right. The movement is right. I'd like to have a little bit of a I like this thing from the gymnastics competitions, where you can, at the very maximum level, sort of, you can if you do a faultless session, you can get 9.7 out of 10 points total. And you're like, but it was faultless, flawless. Yes, it was flawless, but there are 0.3 points extra. One of those is for originality. It has to be something that nobody does. And then you get 0.1 for, you can get 0.1 for risk.
Mm-hmm.
If it is obvious that you're on the verge of your own absolute qualities,
Mm-hmm.
then it is extra 0.1. And the last one, which is my favorite, is virtuosity. And I love that expression. It's like, it means to do common things uncommonly well. We have an expression that I and Hanne use a bit. It's called cat crosses the courtyard. It's meant to be sort of an expression. You can think about how a cat elegantly moves across the courtyard. Least there is no resistance, balance is perfect, tail is just swooning about up top there. Everything is perfect. That's virtuosity. When you can't help yourself but just gawk at someone walking, that is virtuosity. And this needs to be ready when you ride. If you look for these things, everything else comes. If you look for the other things, these three things do not come of themselves.
So you shouldn't look for perfection. You should look for awesomeness.
Yeah, don't look for faultlessness.
Mm.
Of course, if you can, if that is what you're really good at, start there by all means. But allow yourself to experiment so that you can do wrong and learn from it.
I think it's very difficult to get energy if you're looking for faultlessness.
Probably. I think I agree. I think there's a question. Cool. Can we hear it?
Yeah. Hege Höjby asks again, and now she asks about the movement of the sea. The few times I have ridden the Piaf, it feels like there is more movement in the horse. Is that more that the slow movement makes it easier to feel, or is there more movement back or legs?
It depends, because if you really get the right movement in the trot, there will be more movement than in the Piaf. But the horse can very easily move in a way that where the horse's back doesn't swing that much, and then it will be more like a pony trot, you know. So it's it depends. It's
it sounds like that she sometimes in the Piaf gets a fairly good movement out of it.
Yeah.
And remembering, I think that it is easy for Hege's horses to sometimes move like a little bit leg mover-ish when she sits down. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I think you're on to the right thing, Hege. I think that the movement you feel in the Piaf is probably right. It is a slight bit of a guess, but it's
the horse
fairly
should
well
feel
founded.
the same way while moving forwards as well.
Yeah.
But that is something that we're going to talk about the next stream.
Absolutely.
I hope.
With a connection. All right, cool. I think we're about to sum up. So what we have been looking at is a slightly tense horse, but we have been able to show that with different movement in the seat and the legs, you get different responses in the horse. It's a fluent thing. You can turn it on and off, as you have seen. Sometimes it is all the way on, and sometimes it's all the way off. But sometimes when you get it all right, you have a good balance in between those things, and that's what we're aiming at. Everything can be turned all the way on, all the way off, and everything in between should be possible. All sorts of other ways of defining. For instance, if you define that a collected trot, a medium trot, and an extended trot have different amounts of collection, you can do that in order to understand things more. But it should be possible to fluently go all the way from one to to whatever else you want to do. So you should be able to start at the piaffe and sit comfortably all the way to an extended trot and all the way back down to a piaffe.
Mhm.
Should be possible to do that whenever you like, really. It's going to be horribly difficult,
getting
but
back
you
to
but
that.
you can.
Mhm.
All right. The next episode is going to be on February 2nd, and
Mhm.
we're going to talk about connection and over the backness,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is some.
And we're going to say we have still not taken that video, so it's going to be interesting to see what we can make.
Your turn, finally.
Yeah.
Yay. Of course, like us on Facebook as before, and your suggestions, as we have had a few of today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
More of those. Ask in between the streams too. It makes it much easier for us, right? Please shoot us messages. Ask. Other than that, I don't have much more to say than thank you guys for watching.
Thank
it
you.
has been a pleasure having you along. Thank you, guys.